Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Our top story: leaders from across the globe gathering at the UN General Assembly in New York. President Trump laying out America's vision for its role in a turbulent world.
I've come here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world.
Legendary investor Warren Buffett just sold all of his shares in Chinese EV maker BYD. A closer look at this 17-year investment that grew more than 20-fold in value. President Trump just slapped a $100,000 fee on new H-1B visas. What are the pros and cons? China experts weigh in. The University of Arizona shutting down its joint programs with Chinese universities. International students say the move caught them off guard. How it could reshape U.S. China academic ties. And a new investigation revealing the CCP's secret healthcare initiative targeting infants for mass organ harvesting, forced insemination, illegal arrests, all alleged to create donors for China's top leaders. We break down the shocking details. As leaders from around the world gather at the UN General Assembly in New York this week, conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine continue to rage. President Trump is now sending a clear message on America's role in the world. Let's take a closer look.
Nearly 150 heads of state and senior government officials are set to speak over the six-day event, amid raging conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine.
There is a persistent myth that peace is naive.
Here's UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
As we meet, civilians are targeted and international law trampled in Gaza, the Ukraine, Sudan, and beyond.
David Miliband, the president and CEO of the International Rescue Committee, says this year's annual gathering will be more important than usual.
You have a China saying, we're the future of the multilateral system. You have a U.S. saying, we're putting America first. There's a void to be filled here.
On the leadership question, in his speech at the UN General Assembly, President Trump emphasized the United States' peacemaking efforts and outlined his vision for the future of the world. Watch.
In a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years. I've come here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world. And it's a world that we'll be much happier with. A dramatically better future is within our reach. But to get there, we must reject the failed approaches of the past and work together to confront some of the greatest threats in history.
The president stressed the need to end the ongoing wars in Ukraine and Gaza. He said he disagrees with countries that recently recognized a Palestinian state. France, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and Portugal did so over the past 2 days. Trump said this rewards the Hamas terror group for their atrocities and could encourage continued conflict. Trump says we cannot forget the October 7th massacre and should demand the release of the hostages immediately. On Ukraine, Trump says China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to buy Russian oil. He says even some NATO countries have not cut off much imports of Russian energy products. If Russia refuses to make peace, the president asks European nations to join the U.S. in imposing strong tariffs on Russia. Trump also has new plans for humankind's most destructive weapons.
I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. hopefully the UN can play a constructive role. And
the president criticized the UN for funding what he called the uncontrolled migration crisis, especially at the U.S. southern border. He said the UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them or finance them. He said every sovereign nation has the right to control its own borders. Trump also pointed to what he calls the green energy agenda, saying many European countries are devastating their own economies by abandoning fossil fuel. China is dominating global supply chains in the sector. Trump also said the UN has tremendous potential and asked all nations to join the U.S. in defending free speech, religious liberty, and each nation's uniqueness. Famous investor Warren Buffett has sold all of his stakes in Chinese electric vehicle maker BYD. He's pulled out of a 17-year investment that grew more than 20 times in value. According to a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, held more than $400 million worth of BYD shares in December 2024. By March this year, that stake had dropped to zero. Buffett first invested in BYD in 2008. His backing gave the Chinese EV maker a boost, especially since he never invested in its main rival, Tesla. Buffett began gradually selling shares in 2022 after BYD's stock had risen more than 20-fold. A general manager at BYD posted on social media saying, quote, "Stock investment, if you buy, you can sell, which is a normal thing." He also thanked Buffett and Charlie Munger for their long-term support. Charlie Munger is Berkshire Hathaway's vice chairman. It's unclear why Buffett has pulled back from BYD. Berkshire Hathaway did not immediately respond to entity's request for comment. BYD's profit has been slowing. Domestic sales have fallen for 4 straight months, and the company cut its annual sales target by 16%. News that President Trump is imposing a $100,000 fee on H-1B visas making waves in the U.S. The policy, which went into effect September 21st, has sparked mixed reactions both at home and overseas. The big question is, how will this rule affect America's technology future, and what does it mean for the tech race between the U.S. and China? 2 U.S.-based China affairs analysts break it down for us.
Now, the new regulation is definitely good news for foreign students who have studied in U.S. colleges or for foreigners who have just found a job in the United States, as its benefits clearly outweigh the drawbacks.
Ma is among many supporters of the new visa fee. Last week, President Trump said the non-immigrant visa program, also called H-1B, has been widely abused by outsourcing companies. These companies brought in large numbers of foreign workers with lower skills and wages to the U.S. Many are hired for temporary projects rather than long-term contracts. The report calls these abuses a national security threat and accuses companies of visa fraud. Now, the higher H-1B fees are meant to filter out lower-skilled workers. Ma says this could make it easier for highly skilled international students in the U.S. to secure H-1B visas.
Many IT outsourcing companies mentioned in the president's announcement are well known for manipulating the H-1B system. This is a fact everyone is aware of. These companies specialize in doing exactly that, and their entire business model is built on exploiting the H-1B system. For the United States, keeping genuinely talented individuals who have been educated in America is also undeniably a case where the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks.
Indian applicants are set to feel the biggest impact from the new H-1B fee compared to other foreign nationals. The latest report from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security shows that in fiscal year 2024, 71% of approved H-1B visas went to applicants from India. China comes in second, accounting for nearly 12% of approvals. But some experts say there is a bigger picture at play for China as the U.S. raises the cost of H-1B visas.
What we are concerned about is the future battle with China. Look at China, Canada, and even countries across Europe. They're throwing their arms wide open, rolling out highly attractive incentive policies, and aggressively cherry-picking talent worldwide. It's like harvesting the freshest tea leaves. They want the most fragrant ones, the scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs America has shut out. With every tightening and loosening of its borders, how much core competitiveness is the U.S. losing?
On Monday, a spokesperson for China's foreign ministry said China does not comment on U.S. visa policy. He added that China welcomes talent from around the world to come to China and, quote, root in China to build their careers. But that option may not be as appealing as it sounds. China faces ongoing criticism for arbitrary arrests and exit bans for foreigners. Still, many U.S. experts warn the new visa policy could hurt America's competitiveness in the tech sector. Several U.S. China joint university programs seems to have shut down in recent days, leaving students in China scrambling on the first day of school. The University of Arizona is at the center of the latest developments. According to the Sino-Foreign Joint Education site, the school had partnerships with several Chinese universities. Many Chinese students took to social media to voice their frustration. One from Ocean University of China wrote, "On the first day of school, my major is gone." Another student said they were told to switch to online classes. After the Select Committee on the CCP released a report last year titled CCP on the Quad, American universities have begun shutting down their joint Chinese programs. The report accused universities like Berkeley and Georgia Tech of using American funding to train talent for China's military and tech sectors. The latest closures also involve public universities in the U.S., which rely heavily on government funding. They offered a way for students based in China to obtain higher education in America. NTD reached out to the University of Arizona for confirmation on the program shutdowns, but did not hear back before airtime. Two global leaders in artificial intelligence are joining forces. Chipmaker Nvidia announced Monday it will invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI, the company that owns ChatGPT. The partnership comes as competition heats up from China, where AI firm DeepSeek is making strides. The tech giant signed a letter of intent to deploy at least 10 gigawatts of Nvidia chips for OpenAI's artificial intelligence infrastructure. The two companies aim to finalize partnership details in the coming weeks. The first deployment phase is scheduled to come online in the second half of 2026. Nvidia's investment comes days after it committed $5 billion to chipmaker Intel. Nvidia also backed OpenAI in a $6.6 billion funding round in October 2024. OpenAI says it has over 700 million weekly active users. While Nvidia powers America's AI boom with its chips, it's running into pushback from Beijing. The Chinese regime accused the company of monopoly violations and restricts its chip sales in China, while Washington keeps strict export controls in place. A shocking new report claims the Chinese Communist Party is now running a secret full-scale program of infant organ harvesting, moving beyond the experimental phase. The report comes from a U.S.-based NGO called the International Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong. Founded in 2003, the group says its mission is to investigate the CCP's persecution of Falun Gong practitioners, gather evidence, reveal what's happening in China, and hold those responsible accountable. The group's new report says the CCP has created a secret system to industrialize infant organ transplants. It claims this system involves illegally kidnapping women and taking sperm from people who may need organ transplants in the future. That sperm is reportedly used to artificially inseminate the captured women. In other words, babies may be created to match future organ recipients. Here's a closer look at who the report says might be potential organ recipients. The report links this system to the CCP's secret healthcare program for China's top leaders called Project 981. Launched in 2005, the program is reportedly designed to extend the lives of China's elite, with a goal of helping them live up to 150 years. According to the report, China's three largest infant organ supply bases are located in the provinces of Shandong, Henan, and Sichuan. Some surrogacy and prostitution rings are reportedly involved, forming a vast network of illicit profits. You can find links to the full report in our earlier coverage of China's secretive elite healthcare program at the end of today's show.
The investigations reveal something else. The sheer number of child organs available for transplant in China is staggering. An investigator from the International Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong made a phone call to the hospital in northern China's Jilin province in 2017. The investigator posed as the family member of a sick child and inquired about a public campaign that advertised free liver transplants to the first 10 children that applied. The director of the hospital's pediatric surgery department confirmed the offer. Take a listen.
There are many liver transplants for adults. Cases for children are just starting to be carried out. The first 10 transplants are free.
In 2022, the Union Hospital in the city of Wuhan performed heart transplants on 3 children with heart failure, all in just one day. The organs came from 3 different provinces and all of them arrived in Wuhan on the same day. In order for it to have been possible, 3 child organ donors would have had to have died at the same time, and their hearts just happened to be successful matches for the recipients. The odds of this unprecedented case should be near impossible. Organ donations happen after the accidental death of a donor, something rare and impossible to predict. But in this case, 3 accidental deaths among children with organ matches all transpired in one day. Statistics show that about 500 pediatric liver transplants are performed per year in the U.S. China does not publish its organ transplant data and does not have a working organ donation system. But according to publicly available information, including an article titled Pediatric Liver Transplantation in Asia, China leads the world in child living transplants, with 1,054 of the operations performed in 2018 alone. China Daily reported that as of March 2025, Shanghai Renji Hospital has completed over 3,800 of the surgeries. The hospital is the world's largest pediatric liver transplant center.
Coming up, a Chinese cargo ship is on its way to the UK via a newly opened Arctic route launched in partnership with Russia. But this route may be about more than just shipping, what China is really after in the Arctic. An Israeli lawmaker triggering Beijing's fury after visiting Taiwan and calling its leader president. Beijing responded with sharp warnings. We take a closer look. Welcome back to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. China's global ambition expanding. It announced on Tuesday the launch of the world's first Arctic shipping route, connecting its ports directly to Europe. The new route is raising serious concerns about environmental impacts and geopolitical risks. A Chinese cargo ship departed one of China's busiest ports on the eastern coast on Monday. It is traveling north through the East China Sea, passing through the Bering Strait, and then taking the Northern Sea route, the one running along Russia's Arctic coast. The ship is expected to arrive at Felixstowe Port in the UK in just 18 days. That's 22 days faster than taking the traditional route through the Suez Canal. Chinese officials say the route marks a major milestone in their Polar Silk Road project. The concept was first introduced by Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping during a 2017 visit to Moscow, where he met Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Polar Silk Road is China's way of extending its Belt and Road initiative into the Arctic. It is seen as part of China's broader strategy to reshape global trade routes and challenge the existing world order. In 2018, China released an official document outlining its Arctic strategy, which formally introduced the Polar Silk Road. Boaz Toporowski, a member of Israel's parliament, recently visited Taiwan, sparking backlash from Beijing. During his meeting with Taiwan's leader, Lai Ching-te, Toporowski referred to him as president, saying he spoke on behalf of the people of Israel. The comments drew a sharp rebuke from China's embassy in Israel on Sunday. Beijing accused Toporowski of violating the One China policy, which claims Taiwan as part of China. In a post on X, the embassy warned the Israeli lawmaker, saying, quote, "If he does not rein in at the brink of the precipice, he will fall and be shattered to pieces." China's state-run media, the Global Times, published a news article with an illustration of a person walking off a cliff if they defy Beijing's One China policy. 2 months ago, Toporowski publicly backed Taiwan's participation in global groups. From the WHO to the International Civil Aviation Organization, all positions Beijing strongly opposes. The Chinese Communist regime rejects any move toward Taiwan's independence, insisting the island is part of its territory despite never having ruled it. With tensions rising, the U.S. and allies in the Indo-Pacific are boosting military cooperation to counter China's aggression. The White House and China have inched even closer to finalizing the fate of TikTok in the United States. NTD's Sean Marshall takes a look into what this deal could mean for Americans.
While the White House couldn't give any specific numbers or names of individuals involved in the deal of the United States gaining control over its TikTok operations and user data, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was able to say that Oracle will serve as TikTok's trusted security provider, and they will independently monitor the safety and data security of all U.S. user data on the TikTok platform. Speaking with NTD about deeper insights on the TikTok algorithm and security is cyber lawyer Star Cashman.
I'd say it would reduce the data privacy concern hopefully about 100%, because the data will now be hosted in the U.S. They will sever those ties that was previously present with China.
While CCP data leaks may no longer be a concern, what about other possible security concerns?
On the other hand, the national security concerns, I'm not sure if it'll 100% be addressed, but Oracle and U.S. companies having control will now limit the amount of national security concern there is.
User data will be stored on servers operated by Oracle in the United States, protected from surveillance or interference by foreign adversaries. But there's also the case of handling China's infamous golden algorithm. The White House says it will be secured for trained, retrained, and operated in the United States outside of ByteDance's control.
Curious as to whether or not the U.S. getting a hold of TikTok and its addictive algorithm, whether that will mean that more U.S. companies will have education on what exactly made that algorithm so successful, so addictive, so harmful, ultimately, and whether that'll impact other U.S.-based applications like Meta and Twitter, who have been desperately attempting to replicate the TikTok algorithm.
One question on many people's minds has been answered. That is that users in the U.S. will be able to see videos posted by users in other countries and vice versa. The press secretary also said that the deal means businesses using TikTok will generate as much as $178 billion in economic activity within the U.S. over the next 4 years. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
The UN and European Union putting Beijing on notice. They're calling for the release of a prominent COVID-19 whistleblower who was just sentenced to 4 more years behind bars in China. Citizen journalist Zhang Zhen posted videos from Wuhan in 2020 showing the early days of COVID-19 in China. Her reporting helped expose Beijing's cover-up of how severe the pandemic really was. The Chinese regime later convicted her of picking quarrels and stirring up trouble. She was released last year, but just last week, she was sentenced again to 4 years in prison on the same charges. The UN Human Rights Office called the case deeply disturbing and urged her immediate release. The European Commission also condemned the ruling. Advocacy groups warn that Zhang's health is at risk after a history of hunger strikes and force feeding while in custody. Amnesty International says the Chinese regime targeted Zhang because of her commitment to human rights and her consistent refusal to keep silent. That's all for today's China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. If you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at chinainfocus@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. For on-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.